The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guest, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
What if I told you that President Obama's brother is a mobbed up Muslim involved with some of the most despicable people on the face of the earth from some of the most disgusting countries known to mankind? I mean, would that bother you? You do know President Obama has a lot of siblings. I can show you right here if you don't believe me. Here we go, right here. Take a look at this. And for you driving in the car, and your car's on the radio, I'm showing everybody the family tree of the Obamas, designed by our graphics department here at TrentoVision.tv. And the graphics department has a magic marker and a green piece of paper. And at the top right here,
send money.
Yep, so donations are acceptable on TrentoVision.tv. You can donate securely. That is Mr. Barack Hussein Obama Sr., and these are his 4 wives, and those are his 8 kids. And Barack Obama comes in about the middle. Well, Malik Obama, nicknamed Roy, he was born in the late 50s from Senior Obama's wife, Kezia. And Malik Obama, as our expert yesterday explained to us, Malik Obama is on your screen right now. So if you're driving in your car when you get home tonight, go to youtube.com/TheUnitedWest. You got to see this picture. It's a beautiful family picture. Go back to the family picture. 2 brothers enjoying the seat of power in the White House in Washington, D.C. We have President Obama, screen left, and his brother Malik in all his Muslim clothes. Now, when his brother leaves the White House and takes the limo to DCA, Reagan National, jumps on a plane, he flies back to the Sudan. Actually, he lives in DC, but he goes in and out of the Sudan. So why does he go to this country that has 30 million people, 97% of whom are Muslims? Not just regular Muslims. They're Sunni Muslims who follow the Wahhabist view. That is, we're going to hear from our expert. Yesterday was part 1 of WALID SHOEBAT's explosive expose on the interlinks of President Obama and his family as it relates to bizarre 501c3s and the IRS. I'm not, CJ, am I making this up?
No, you're not making it up.
It sounds like a very bad Hollywood movie.
It sounds like science fiction, but
it does.
Isn't.
But we have the IRS, we have 501c3s, we have money being raised, we have Muslims taking money out of the United States who happen to be related to the president, sending money to the Sudan. The president of the Sudan is President Omar al-Bashir. Toasty fellow he is. He's wanted by the ICC, International Criminal Court, on 7 charges of
genocide.
He oversaw the killing of 2 million people. Yeah, Christians for the most part. That country was split in a horrible civil war. We have southern Sudan now that's mostly Christian. He's still going after these people.
He's rounding up whoever he can.
But in order to do the will of Allah, Omar al-Bashir started an outreach program. You know, I'm a Christian. We have our outreach programs, and we try to share the love of Jesus Christ to people. Well, Omar al-Bashir has a little different way of doing it. He started the Islamic Dawah Organization, IDO. The Islamic Dawah Organization is really a political tool designed to infest the host country in such a way as to propagate Islam, to proselytize, to get involved in politics, influence all levels, to make eventually the host city state or nation Islamic.
Yeah.
And out of the Sudan, we have the IDO, Islamic Dawah Association, but somebody has to run it.
Organization, yeah.
Organization,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
somebody has to run it.
Somebody has to run it,
So-
and who better and more qualified than
Back to the picture. Go back to the picture.
brother of President Barack Hussein
Obama.
Obama.
Now, guys, here on TrentoVision.tv on the 30th
There's
of
no
May.
nepotism involved here.
What?
There's no nepotism involved
On the-
whatsoever. They're a totally legit company. They're a totally legit 501c that just happened to get fast tracked.
Now, I don't know nothing from nothing on Thursday,
Absolutely.
May
Okay.
30th,
Look,
2013. We'll go back to that picture.
Go back to that picture, because what we have here in this picture is the personification of the joining of the domestic corruption of the Barack Hussein Obama administration and
With international
with
terrorism.
international terrorism
Yeah.
and national security. Like, forget it. You can't even call
No, you
them
can't even-
failures.
you can't, yeah. No,
You can't even
and
call them failures.
I don't know, but if we were a fly on the wall, the brother would be saying, "Man, how do I do what you do? You're rolling, Barack. How do I do that sort of stuff? You know, hey, you stay close to me. I'll take care of you." And we got to pull the records to see how many times the brother has been in the White House. You know, check that out. But the bottom line is this. You know, you have guilt by association. I mean, I've been in pictures with crazy people, and people try to associate me with those crazy people.
Yeah.
It's usually true. to
Well,
tell you the truth.
Bill Ayers is just a guy he knows from his old neighborhood in Chicago.
The higher you
Yeah.
get up on the national security pyramid,
Yeah.
the less excuses, the less room you have for associations. And Uma Abedin, our expert WALID SHOEBAT, who did a great expose a few months back, Uma, part of the evaluation process of the Department of State is to examine your relationships, both familial and in a friend manner, to determine whether or not you're compromised in a way, shape, or form. You got a guy who is running basically an Islamic terrorism organization out of the Sudan, sitting in with the president because he's the president's brother. WALID SHOEBAT.
Well, why should this be so surprising? The head of the CIA was converted to Islam in an influence operation by the Saudis while he was stationed there on behalf of the CIA. So, come on.
We need somebody to straighten this out. Do we have anybody out there that can straighten this
I
out?
I
Thank
can think of
you.
a very special apostate that might be perfect.
And who is
Yeah.
that?
Mr. WALID SHOEBAT.
Okay, let's
Yes.
bring WALID SHOEBAT in for part 2 of the WALID
Part
SHOEBAT special expose. Hi, WALID. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Tom? CJ, how are you?
We're
Hello.
doing good. We're doing good. CJ had a question we left off yesterday. For the sake of our audience here on TrentoVision, about 10 minutes past 5 o'clock, we will ask the question. I think WALID has a special expert.
Okay. When we left off yesterday, after we established how the 501c3s were set up for the Barack Hussein Obama foundations, what I wanted to know is, what is your proof? Can you show the connection between President Obama and the hindrance of prosecution for war crimes of the president of the Sudan? And how is Barack Obama, as president of the United States, basically blocking the prosecution of a man responsible for genocide?
Well,
How's he helping them?
That's very good question. I hear my son door. He is also involved in the research. He will give the other half of your question. The first half of your question is the connectivity between President Obama and his Kenyan family. That's been established when Musa Ismail Obama spoke at Al Jazeera television, spoke of the communication between the foundations, the foundations, that is the Mama Sarah Obama Foundation. Malik Obama is also involved. The conduit is Uncle Saeed Obama, who is the secret conduit in the family who brings back and forth those messages. We also have the IRS, which Obama, of course, President Obama has influence over. And there's much corruption as evidence these days. No one can deny the corruption in the IRS. The IRS itself admitted the corruption, giving special statuses for people. In this case, Malik Obama gained illegal status of a 501c3 without any investigation, giving false address, so on and so forth. Then we have Malik Obama's involvement with the Islamic Dawah organization. But we must go to the history first to understand how this came about. Basically, President Obama's brother is affiliated with the Sudan, the regime, the government, the whole shebang. We need to understand the history. It was the Muslim Brotherhood that begat Hassan al-Turabi of Sudan. He was a major influential figure. He is basically the Qaradawi of Egypt to Sudan. From Turabi, then the National Islamic Front was begotten. He was a key figure in establishing the National Islamic Front in Sudan, which begot the Islamic Dawah organization, which Malik Obama is the executive secretary as well as the advisor in Sudan.
Stuff is crazy.
When it came to the policy issues of President Obama, it matches perfectly with the policies of the Islamist Sudan and not collaborating with our friend in the southern Sudan. Theodore will add more to this equation.
Okay.
All right, now
Thank you.
Theodore is your son. Where is he? Theodore, hi Theodore. Welcome to TrentoVision. Good to have you here. We hear a lot about you, and we're glad you're with us. And help us understand the Sudan.
Well, we're talking about Sudan. We're talking about North Sudan, which is a country ruled by Omar al-Bashir, who is the head of or actually I would say he is a part of the Muslim Brotherhood affiliate in North Sudan. North Sudan has its own Muslim Brotherhood, which is an extension of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood. So when we're talking about Omar al-Bashir, we always have to interconnect him with what's going on in Egypt. That's why I always say to people, if you want to know how Egypt is going to become, just look at North Sudan and you will find out. It's been a Sharia nation longer than Egypt. I mean, it's been a Sharia nation going back to the 90s, I would say. But to go to Obama, to connect this with the president, in around 2011, 2012, the Council of Foreign Relations released a report stating for a fact that the president of South Sudan, which is a Christian country and seceded from the north on account of the immense persecution the Christians were enduring, was funding rebel groups in Darfur who were trying to oust out Omar al-Bashir because he's such an immense tyrant. Now, Omar al-Bashir began to complain to Barack Obama. And Obama paid a visit, and he was very upset. According to the Council of Foreign Relations, President Obama was expressed great anger with the president of South Sudan, who was a Christian. His name is Salva Kiir, and told him vociferously, told him very angrily, to stop funding the rebel groups in Darfur, stop giving weapons to the rebel groups in Darfur, and the Salva Kiir ceased to support the rebellion. Now, here's the question. This was happening during the revolutions in Egypt, during the revolutions in Syria, during the revolutions in Libya. Obama was in all support with those revolutions. He expressed great support for the revolution in Egypt, great support for the revolution in Libya, great support for the revolution in Tunisia and Syria, but for a revolution against a truly Islamic tyrant who was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, Obama squashed it.
Exactly. Just like he squashed...
Not just some crazy conspiracy theorists.
And
let's not forget, Omar al-Bashir was the one behind the attack on the American embassy in Khartoum, which took place around the same time as Benghazi. Khartoum is a major city in North Sudan.
Yeah.
So they attacked the American embassy and the German and British embassies as well around the same time as Benghazi.
Right.
Omar al-Bashir was confirmed to be the main orchestrator behind this attack.
Right.
And Obama's brother is working with them. Obama helped them. So explain that one to me.
Well, I'll give you one little thing that'll help explain it.
Yeah.
That trip to the Sudan by Obama was May of 2011. Guess who accompanied President Obama on his very important trip to the Sudan. Guess what? Counterterrorism advisor.
Oh, the one who converted to Islam?
John Brennan. John Brennan went with him to the Sudan and then went on to visit Saudi Arabia, where he got converted.
Reverted.
Yeah.
Reverted.
But I mean, we have. I mean, this is near traitorous. You know.
It's not near anything.
It is. It is.
I'm always hesitant to use that term.
It is.
But,
it is.
Oh my word!
What is?
Near like a nuclear bomb, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right, so let's get this whole thing sorted out.
Okay, let's get this whole thing sorted out. Let's start with the beginning of Barack Obama's first term of his presidency.
Okay.
He launched himself onto the world stage. Hello, I'm here, folks. How? He launched his world apology tour for the United States in Cairo.
June 6th, 2009.
2009.
Cairo.
Okay. Where he stood arm in arm with the Muslim Brotherhood and announced
front row seats
to the Muslim world, I'm with you, I'm one of you.
Oh, hang on for a second. We have our guest, WALID SHOEBAT, is a former member of the Muslim Brotherhood. We're using these terms, but we're getting new viewers and listeners every day, WALID, on the radio side and on the internet TV side. Give us a short overview of the Muslim Brotherhood. What is it, and why is it so bad?
Well, we have to look at history again. In 1924, the West finally defeated the Muslim world. Kemal Ataturk was assigned government in Turkey. Became a Turkish republic, I believe, and he removed the Arab script. He squashed all the Islamic movements, which continued to try to gain momentum in several years until the AK Party finally got its foothold. But from that inception, when the Islamic world got crushed in 1924, in 1928, I believe, 4 years later, the Muslim Brotherhood gave birth. Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The Muslim Brotherhood was given birth in Egypt. You had Hassan al-Banna, and before him Sayyid Qutb. It became a terrorist organization under Jamal Abdel Nasser. I believe Sayyid Qutb was hanged, and it began to see a momentum when Russia basically lost the southern parts of the Russian republics. There was a void in that region. There was a void in the Middle East to reestablish itself. And so the Muslim Brotherhood became very vibrant under Obama. It was Obama's election, basically, that gave the message to the Muslim Brotherhood. They have a very short time, and that's what we had, the Arab Spring. We've seen what happened as a result. The Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt, you have Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, the spiritual head of the Muslim Brotherhood, take over the podium from Wa'il Ghunaim, who was a secularist who was going to give a speech in Tahrir Square. And if you recall that story, he was ousted out of the speech, and basically the Muslim Brotherhood announced its position in Egypt. Elections took over after that, and the Muslim Brotherhood was elected through voting and bribery and giving the masses foodstuffs and things of that sort. Now the Muslim Brotherhood is spreading its tentacles into Hamas, using the Sudan as well. So everybody who was ousted out of the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt is back to roost in the Middle East, and we've seen the revolution in Syria as a result. So the Muslim Brotherhood is the umbrella organization of all the Sunni terrorist organizations, Hamas, the Islamic Jihad movements. That is the mother, and unfortunately in the United States, it is not considered a terrorist entity. It should be, as it was in the days of Hosni Mubarak.
Theodore, you said that the Muslim Brotherhood in North Sudan is a little different than the Brotherhood in Egypt, and they're neighboring countries. Different in what way? Draw out the distinctions between the two Brotherhood organizations.
They're not different. The only difference I would say is the intensity of persecution which is going on in the two countries. Egypt right now, because the Muslim Brotherhood just took Egypt a number of years ago. I mean, just last year it took Egypt. So it's not immediately going to implement mass slaughters and persecutions on the Christian population as of yet. It will eventually, no doubt. But my whole point is, people ask me, how is Egypt going to turn out? What is going to be the state of Egypt in the near future? I say, just look at North Sudan.
Right.
North Sudan was taken by the same organization when Bashir and al-Tarabi did a coup and took the country. They're both Muslim Brotherhood. And so because the Muslim Brotherhood has been ruling in North Sudan a lot longer than the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt has, it has matured to a much deeper level in persecution than Egypt because of time.
It's a much more Sharia compliant country.
It's a Sharia compliant country where Egypt is just getting started in it. And we've already seen in the last more than a year since the Brotherhood took over the systematic burning of all the Coptic churches and all
in Egypt, yeah,
and the killings and imprisonments of the Coptic Christians in Egypt. I mean, this is not the wholesale slaughter of Christians that we saw in the Sudan. And Egypt is a more westernized country also than the Sudan is. And so it's more technologically advanced, and you're not going to see the overt killing,
insanity, hacking
in Egypt that you saw in the Sudan, I don't think.
Picking up on that, Theodore, we hear 2 million Christians, we know 2 million Christians killed in the Sudan. What is the nature of the conflict? What for people who hear the Sudan, they don't know what's going on.
I guess the Christians were occupying land that the Muslims were claiming as their own, right?
What was the
essence?
essence?
Must have been a land for peace issue that couldn't quite get worked out.
I mean, Christians have been there for a long time. Give us a little primer for folks that don't know anything about the Sudan.
Before Theodore answers the question, if I may interject and make an addition here before he comments, it's important. It is very important to understand that the Islamic Dawah organization that Malik Obama is responsible for in Kenya, that's the Kenyan branch of that Sudanese outfit, on that website that Malik Obama is responsible for, it states that the purpose of the Islamic Dawah organization that Malik runs is to thwart the Christian tyranny in Sudan. In other words, it is really to crush the Christians to oblivion in Sudan. So this kind of remarks from the website itself gives credence to that plan that was embryoed in Sudan, taken over by the Malik Obama in this case.
So I just have to ask you guys, just to before we get back deep into the Sudan, how can the President of the United States justify his association by name and by familial relation with a foundation and with an individual that is responsible for terrorism against Christians?
The answer is very simple. President Obama will do what President Obama will do until the American people speak out and make it a stickling issue. Then President Obama will retract and blame others for whatever happened.
Of course, because that's the Muslim way anyhow. But let me ask you this. As Christians yourselves, how do you explain the lack of Christian American interest in this issue of what's happening in the Sudan, and the president's
I must say,
the president's actions and his aiding and abetting of the wholesale slaughter of Christians by Muslims all around the world. And American Christians are just shut up, dead silent about it, and I don't get it.
Well, I get it. The American churches, for one thing, not all of them, but many of them have been engulfed by heresy. It is the heresy of being completely useless. Christianity Christianity is about fighting the forces of darkness. I mean, if you read throughout the scriptures, I can talk about this for hours, but just to give you a tidbit, 1 John chapter 3 says, and this is why Christ came, to destroy the works of the devil. So Christ's sacrifice was there to destroy the works of Satan. So we as Christians must also do the same thing. We must also combat with the forces of darkness. And that is the whole, really the whole purpose and the whole goal as Christians, is to attack and to fight against evil. So, but we have forgotten this idea. It's been very recent that the church in America has forgotten this very, very important aspect of our faith, and we've distracted ourselves from fighting against evil to making the church really into almost like a psychological clinic, a place where you have marriage counseling, psychiatric help, dating, Christian dating, stuff that has nothing to do with Christianity, really.
Right.
The main point of Christianity, like I said, is to contend with Satan and his servants. That is it. But because we have forgotten this, we have then, in turn, forgotten the great evils which Islam is causing right now and continues to cause. But to also to add to what you were saying, you brought up the 2 million Christians, but Brad Phillips is a major activist who is fighting against the tyranny of Bashir currently. And he recently made a report a number of years ago stating that the number of deaths caused by Bashir's regime has increased. It's no longer 2 million. It's actually over 3 million now.
Wow.
It's not just Christians, mostly Christians, but you also have animists, secularists, people who are political opponents of Bashir. But more or less, the target is specifically the church and Christianity, which is what Bashir wants to destroy. And he is killing these people not only by attacking churches, burning churches. His thugs go out and they attack Christians at random in Christian areas. In 2011, actually, El-Taib Mustafa is the uncle of Bashir. He caused a major persecution. He's still causing major persecutions. He orders Muslims to go out and attack and kill Christians. He releases fatwas saying to do so, to wreak violence against churches. And then also Omar al-Bashir is continuing to bomb the Nuba Africans, the Nuba people. They live in the Nuba Mountains, which borders between North and South Sudan. Right. And many of them are Christians. Some of them are animists, but many of them are Christians. And
also, rape is a big part of this, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
rape is a big part of this, and rape is a big part of Islam.
Yeah, it's a huge part of Islam because of the sexual repression and denial and everything, and it's also to dishonor. If I'm right, WALID, the act of sexually attacking someone and raping them is more not for the actual sex, but it's a portrayal of honor and that you are subdued and that you should be shamed. Is that correct?
You're absolutely correct. In fact, from my own experience, when I went to high school in Dar Jasser High School in Bethlehem, my educators were graduates from Al-Azhar University of Egypt. I even remember my teacher's name, Sheikh Naeem Ayyad. And I remember the time when we were studying the Islamic studies department in the Quran, and the subject was Al-Jawari, the concubines. And also part of the subject was Islamic Messianism and how Islam basically will take over Jerusalem with the trees and the stones cry out, there's a Jew hiding behind me. And since Islam forbade killing the woman, the questions was poised in the class, what do we do with the women? We take them as Jawari, concubines. And is that a marriage? And the answer was no, it's not a marriage. Well, you stated, teacher, that we can have children with these women. How do you have children with a woman who you're not married to? There's a moral issue here. And he says, morally speaking, there's no issue because they're not considered wives. They're considered concubines. And I says, well, how is it possible that this concubine is going to allow the male to have intercourse with her after killing her father, her brother, her family members? That doesn't seem to make any sense. Does she have any say-so in the matter? And he says, no, she doesn't. She has no choice in the matter. The Muslim male can have sex with his concubine regardless. It is not consensual. So I remember I went home that day, and my father also taught Islamic studies in the same Bethlehem district. And I asked him, I said, Father, we are learning rape in school.
Wow. You're learning rape.
Rape in school. He says, no, it's not considered rape. And in fact, in Sudan, historically, they have taken girls 8, 9 years old for the service of the Muslim military. It was Bashir al-Turabi. Bashir al-Turabi was a major influence in this whole thing. He was the Muslim Brotherhood affiliate from Egypt. In fact, when that movement started in Sudan, it was called Al-Haraka al-Islamiyya, the Islamic Movement Organization. And they were going to be exactly a mimic of the Muslim Brotherhood, but then they opted to name it Al-Haraka al-Islamiyya, separate from the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, yet they aspire exactly the same things. So I don't agree that Egypt is going, because it's a little more civilized or has Western things, that it's going to not carry out the same kind of genocides against the Coptic Egyptians in Egypt. In fact, we must look at Isaiah chapter 19 in the Bible. It talks about that the believers in Egypt will cry to the Lord. I mean, many Christians in America, when they read the first verse of Isaiah 19, the Lord comes riding on a swift cloud and is coming into Egypt. Christ, when he comes down with the clouds, one of the places he goes besides Jerusalem is in Egypt. Why?
Right.
Because the persecution of the Christians in Egypt. What happened in Sudan will parallel in Egypt.
Okay, this has been an amazing two-part investigative expose, Walid. It's about 5:30 on the 30th of May, Thursday.
If I may add one thing.
Sure, yeah.
If I may add one thing, to prove my point beyond shadow of a doubt, you look at Obama's behavior. He's a philanderer. He enjoys young girls, underage girls. It's been proven fact. In fact, one in-law of Malik Obama, named Mary, she tells how Malik seduced her underage daughter named Sheila, and I quote her verbatim. He made a secret plan to take her away and gave her 3,000 shillings, tantamount to 24 pounds, to get her to marry him. Sheila Ananiago, 35 years younger than Malik, also reported by Andrew Malone of the Daily Mail, by Sheila Ananiago herself, Sheila Ananiago, and Hafsa Abawanda, now 33, also another case, married the politician, a teenager. She was underage. She escaped in 2008 after 5 years of abuse. Several members of the family testify that Malik has at least 12 wives. Under Islam, you're only allowed 4, but what he does is he rotates wives. He built a mosque in Kogelo, Kenya, paid by the Saudis. We even know exactly the names of the Saudi and the Qatari and the Bahrainis involved in building this mosque, where Malik Obama himself basically eyeballs the underage girls and lures them into his web of so-called marriage. In fact, you can watch a YouTube with Malik Obama himself. No one in the world can deny it. And this is the Kenyan media there wanted to get rid of this major philander and underage maniac from the community. They recorded him.
Walid,
how he bought the girls, how he had the mother and the brother sign for the girls.
I read in your article where you were saying some of the money from the BHOF is actually funding the hotel in Kenya where he's keeping these wives, these multitudes of wives with the 501c3 tax money.
He's raising money in the United States. And
all monies that comes from the Dawah Wahhabist and the Sudanese government goes to building mosques and madrasas and building the mosque in Kogelo with a house for the imam. The rest of the monies that comes from the United States and the West funds the Barack H. Obama Foundation, which is a compound. It's sort of like the David Koresh. Has a compound and a restaurant, which the restaurant makes money for him. And he runs this whole compound with the multitudes of women who are abused, sexually abused, also through beating. In fact, Mama Sarah Obama, the grandmother of President Obama herself, was interviewed, and she said if a disobedient wife is disobeying the husband, she has to be beaten. And this is how he learned about wife beating. There is tremendous reports, even from the Smithsonian, talking about many of this, the Daily Mail, major news medias that went and investigated. So this is from different, several very reputable sources that investigated the whole issue with Malik Obama. Spousal abuse, polyandry, underage marriage, polygamy are serious charges when you are a resident of the United States.
Resident. All right, here's what we have to do right now. We still have some time left with you. We want to get into some more issues. But for those of you in your automobiles on this beautiful Thursday afternoon, May 30th,
don't crash your cars listening to this.
Don't crash your cars. And you're listening to WALID SHOEBAT and his son Theodore SHOEBAT as they're explaining an investigative expose that they put together, which shows a bizarre relationship between some of the Obama family, President Obama, his half-brother Malik, and we're going to get into his cousin in a second. Can you cue up? There's Malik right on the screen right now. And WALID SHOEBAT has been explaining the insane sexual proclivities of this Muslim leader who lives in Washington, works out of the Sudan in an organization focused in Kenya. I mean,
to spread Saudi-style Wahhabi Islam all over Africa and the rest of the world.
So you got to watch part one, which was yesterday on the 29th. Today's part two. You can go to our archives, youtube.com/theunitedwest. But if you want to get in touch with WALID or his son Theodore, how could they do that, WALID? We've been putting your website up, but what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
Well, they can write us at walid@shoebat.com. WALID @SHOEBAT SHOEBAT.com. It's very easy to remember. As you spell the word shoe, I don't know if some of your audience don't know how to spell potato. Perhaps they can spell shoe, SHOE, and bat, baseball bat.
There you go. Take a shoe and a bat.
A mind is a terrible thing to lose.
SHOEBAT. They can research our material. We have a website, SHOEBAT.com, that has the latest researches that we do on the Islamic infiltration in America, which I'm sure you're aware of.
And I know WALID, he does impeccable research, impeccable documentation as far as where he gets his sources from. It's not just something that he makes up out of his head. And plus, him being former Muslim Brotherhood involved with Al Qaeda, he knows how they think and what the connections are and what they mean. So
well, does he? But the question is he a 501c3? Can you take donations?
Well, put it this way.
Can you take donations?
Yes, I can. But remember, CNN did an expose on me. There's one thing CNN said that was true. I have a 501c3. We do. But we didn't have one in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania was liberal and they were thwarting us, didn't allow us. It took us years to get our 501c3 in Pennsylvania. So we're complied in Pennsylvania. But just to see the difference between us attempting to get a 501c3 legitimately, trying to help persecuted Christians in Pakistan, here's Malik Obama, who can easily get a 501c3, even though he never was a 501c3 for several years, so he can fund this Wahhabist empire in the Sudan and everywhere else in Africa. That is okay. But us, to try to help Christians from being killed and slaughtered every day, that wasn't okay for the IRS.
Now, CJ brought up a point that it was retroactive. CJ brought up a very good point that it was retroactive.
Yep, it was a retroactive, and you can see all this stuff on his website. We're certainly not going to be able to with where are we on the clock here? 5:40.
I think it's very unfortunate that this is never going to get investigated
the way it should
by the United States.
That's why we're doing it.
Because who's going to do it? The corrupt Holder Department of Injustice?
Maybe not.
Is
I
that
got a
gonna
question.
happen?
We're going to ask Theodore
Let me
because
tell you,
Theodore's a sharp guy.
I know, CJ, let me say something. I know you and Tom work very heavily in trying to wake up Americans. I know how your hearts at times feel when you see how the world doesn't listen. But I can relate to that. But let me tell you, don't be concerned whether people listen or don't listen. What we do as a mission is to etch history in fact and in truth. And history eventually will be revealed. As we say in the Middle East, one day the snow will melt and all the crap under it.
I was looking for this very flowery grandeur thing. You got a question? What is your question?
I just wanted to ask a question. It's kind of ironic, being the racism that's inherent in Islam, that all these efforts by the Wahhabists to go and, to what they refer to as Abd, and that they're trying to basically bring this strict fundamental Islamism to, or Islamist view to people that they consider inferior. Or am I wrong in that supposition?
No, you're not wrong. In fact, Muhammad the Prophet in the Hadith said, if you ever want to know how Satan looks like, just look at a black man. And he also called the Africans raisin heads. And Muhammad himself said that the black man was made to serve both the white man, the Japhethite, and the Arab, the Semite. So no, Islam is an inherently racist religion, but they are simply using the Africans for their own object. That is why there is major dawah or Islamic evangelism going on right now in American prisons, because they want to take the American blacks and say, well, you see, the American system, that's a white man's system, and they're oppressing you, they're putting you in prison. Join Islam. That's the oppressed man's religion. That's not the white man's religion. Christianity is the white man's religion. So they're getting all of these blacks in America.
Yeah. And by coincidence, our president studied Christianity under the leader of this movement in the United States of Black Liberation Theology, which preaches exactly that from a supposed Christian point of view.
I got one thing to say. Oy vey, I
learned poetry in the Middle East. The famous poem written by a Muslim poet, لا تشتري العبد إلا والعصا معه إن العبيد لأنجاس مناكيدي. Everyone who speaks Arabic knows exactly what I mean. Do not buy the abid, the nigger, unless you get a stick with him so you can beat him with it, because niggers are detestable and filthy. I'm translating the poem. No one can deny this. In fact, most people don't know we had slavery when I lived in Israel, before Israel took over in '67. I remember as a child, the orange groves in Jericho were taken care of by blacks from Sudan. And I remember one black servant was beaten. His back looked like the back of Jesus Christ. It was horrible. And he was beaten to a pulp because he was considered a nigger. And that's how they treated blacks. I cried watching the scene, not realizing this is part of the system.
See, he's whitewashing the Arab side of the slave trade. Now, when the meeting was called by UNESCO on slave trade in the Indian Ocean, they invited 50 Arab scholars. Not one showed up. They don't want to deal with it. And the African who is a Muslim don't want to deal with it. And those who are Muslim in this country don't even know about it and don't want to be told about it.
Slavery, even slavery, history of slavery in America, it is all linked to the Muslim world.
Yeah.
Most American Africans need to understand that Christianity came to liberate the African, came to liberate the Asian, came to liberate to everybody. It came to liberate the women, which Malik Obama himself, when he was asked, why do you beat your wives? Guess what his response was? He says, it's a matter of interpretation. I know exactly what he meant. It's a matter of interpretation. In other words, in the West, any wife beating is considered outlawed, while in the Muslim Sharia, it is not considered outlawed so long you don't do damage to the girl. You can beat them slightly and they have all
Don't
these
leave bruises.
Don't leave permanent scars.
So it's a matter of interpretation.
Yeah,
When
but
I
you
read
know-
Malik's words, when I read Mama Sarah's words, I know exactly the fountain that comes out of their heart, because I used to be one of them too.
All right, now we're going to have to do more shows with both of you to get into a lot of the Islamic stuff.
I love the psychology of all this.
We're running out of time in our part 2 right now. And before I forget, this is the movie that I spoke about yesterday, Obsession, Radical Islam's War Against the West. And one of the key people interviewed in here is WALID SHOEBAT. If you'd like a copy of this, contact us, Tom at TrentoVision.tv. We'll send you a free copy. 1-hour documentary on the obsession that Islam has with warring against the West, like we're talking about. But in terms of your 2-part special, this explosive expose on the Obama family members, we have a video here. It's in Arabic. It's in, I think it's Obama's cousin now, who was interviewed by Al Jazeera. I just want to show you a little bit of this. It's the #1 video, the first video on your report, your 22-page report.
Musa Ismail.
Yeah, it's Musa, right? Ismail? Is that?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Musa Ismail Obama. He speaks classical Arabic, graduated from Wahhabi schools in Saudi Arabia, and tells it as it is.
We're going to show just 30 seconds because it's in Arabic. It has, I think it has captions in it.
I have it muted if you want to talk over it.
Well, I want, we'll tell you when it starts, and we want you to tell a little bit about Obama's cousin now. Who the heck is this guy, and how does he fit into this mobbed up family? Are we ready to play it or what?
We're playing it now.
Okay, here we go. All right, it's rolling.
Yep.
And there he is. He's being interviewed. He's a slight black man.
He's a teeny guy.
Yeah, in his Islamic garb.
Small guy, yeah, right.
What's this all about, WALID?
Musa Ismail Obama is the fundraiser for President Obama's mother's foundation, Mama Sarah Foundation. He goes to Saudi Arabia. In fact, President Obama's grandmother went to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj, the pilgrimage. And they were giving royal treatment by the king. And then they were allowed to go to Al Jazeera to raise major funding for the Wahhabist infrastructure. He talks about his life. He talks about how he studied in Wahhabist school. He talks about how he graduated from Saudi Arabia. I believe it is Al-Madina, Al-Munawwara school, which is one of the top 3 most virulent Wahhabi schools. He talks about the necessity of sending students from Kenya to Saudi Arabia, and so they can thwart the Christian evangelism in Africa, so they can crush the Christian tyrannies in Africa, and so he is basically declaring himself as a Wahhabist. He's declaring himself to be part of this whole structure. In fact, you can see photos as well with Saeed Obama, the important conduit for President Obama, sitting there with the heads of the Wahhabist movement from Muslim World League. The Muslim World League was involved in supporting Al-Qaeda. So you can see from Musa Ismail Obama to Malik Obama to Sarah Obama to the whole shebang.
This is the Gambino family. This is like the Gambino family, man.
Videos, and as well as from our extensive research. You just have to plug in SHOEBAT and Obama Foundation, and you'll see all about it.
I got a question for Theodore. Young Theodore. Why should anybody, particularly in the West, particularly in the United States, why should anybody care about this? You got a bunch of Muslim crazy people doing what they do crazy stuff. What really does this have to do with us living here in the United States of America?
That's a very good question, actually, and this is a question that I particularly would like to answer. Why should we care? Well, in America, we are obsessed with tolerance. We have put tolerance on an altar, made it into an idol, and replaced Christianity, really, with tolerance. We judge nations by their tolerance. So we have a bunch of Muslims living in the United States. We say, well, we're a tolerant nation, and we're going to allow them to do what they want to do. Well, then, that sounds great and all, but then you have Muslims protesting in Dearborn, Michigan. Then you have Muslims thriving, and then all of a sudden they feel very, very confident. And then they start to do terrorist attacks. They begin to kill people. They begin to kill thousands of people. So then we realize, well, what happened? Well, we need more tolerance. And we keep talking about tolerance. Here's the thing, is in the Bible, just to bring up the scripture, in the book of Genesis, there's a very famous story about two brothers called Cain and Abel. Cain sacrificed with the fruits, Abel with blood. Cain was then a heretic. What did Cain do before he killed his brother? He was very nice to his brother. The scripture says that he brought him to a field and began talking to him. So in other words, he tricked his brother before killing him. So here in America, we get this persona, well, they're very nice people. Islam isn't the problem. What we need is more tolerance. The problem is fundamentalism. But then we have to remember the story in the scripture. What happened before Abel? Before Abel was killed, Cain was very nice to him. Here's another thing. I went on a radio show one time. It was British radio, and the guy was from England. And he told me that Muslims were very, very nice people and that I had no right to say the things that I was saying. And I told him straight up, I said, listen, one day the Muslims are going to rape your women and they're going to cut your heads off. And he started to laugh at me. Well, guess what happened just days ago?
Yeah,
a British cadet got beheaded in the middle of the street. The Muslims in England have more, and I would say also in the United States, they have more freedom in the Western world than they do Saudi Arabia. If a Muslim in America took out a microphone and started to scream out Sharia was going to take over the world, nobody would stop him. And eventually that person would cause a very, very violent act to be done.
Muslims in Israel have more freedom than Muslims in most Muslim countries.
If a Muslim in Saudi Arabia began saying Sharia was going to take over the world, they would take him out and most likely execute him.
Right.
So the Saudis, they are actually smarter than we are. We need to watch out for people, in my opinion, who are going out saying Sharia is going to take over the world. The Muslim in England who beheaded that cadet, what was he doing before he committed murder? He was partaking in these Islamic protests, declaring that Sharia was going to dominate the world, and nobody cared. So fine, you don't care. You can be careless all you want. But don't complain when you have a knife on your neck.
Yeah, but I didn't think.
Well said. I mean, that was very well said.
Absolutely.
You're speaking, Walid, we can't hear you. You got to speak into the mic.
Saudi Arabia wants to establish Sharia in the world. Saudi Arabia, if they want to establish Sharia as the law and remove the kingdom, then they will kill you. In other words, it's okay for the geese, but it's not okay for the gander.
Of course.
So it's okay to spread Wahhabism throughout the world, but if the Wahhabis say, look, we got to take over Saudi Arabia, we have to have a Khalifa here, forget the kings, then Saudi Arabia will execute you.
I just have one minor correction to what Theodore said, and he's spot on, 100% spot on. They're not protesting Christians in Dearborn. They're actually stoning them with crates, rocks, and bombs. We actually recorded it and have it on video. Just a
You probably saw that video. We put that video together, the stoning.
And millions of hits.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Well, we haven't heard that much from Imam Abdul I Fool You, You Fool. What do you think about this 2 days with WALID SHOEBAT? What's going on in your head?
You didn't hear from him because I debunked the Imam. I debunked the Imam.
Yes. I must say, having WALID on, coming man from such a position, makes me look like a real fool. And I do not like when you have such authoritative guests on that actually tell the people the truth. It is much easier for us to sit here and say, oh, religion of peace this, religion of peace that, interfaith this, interfaith that. When someone like WALID comes on and tells you the truth, it makes my people look not so good or so American.
Good. Well, that's the first sane thing you've said since you've been here, I think. That's pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you, I think.
Are we still kafirs?
You are very much.
yes.
But you are my favorite infidel, Trento.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, I thought I was.
You are number 2. But I must say that, Mr. SHOEBAT, you're the most prolific apostate possibly in the world. And you have made my life very, very difficult.
Well, you know, according to your Quran, Imam, it says, فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَخُذُوهُمْ وَاقْتُلُوهُم. If they renege on the faith, then take them and kill them. You cannot, refute this. It's in the Quran, and it's in Umdat as-Salik. Umdat as-Salik is the manual Muslims follow in America. They all buy it, and it tells them there, if your children leave the faith, then kill them. So, Imam, let me tell you, if your kids get apostate, you must, resort to Umdat as-Salik.
I am very well aware. That is why we have you Skyped in instead of here in person.
I'm holding it in my hand. I got Reliance in my hand right now. All right, WALID, SHOEBAT, and Theodore SHOEBAT. It's got to be quick because we're winding down.
Thank you very much.
We have many questions, but CJ has one
Okay,
quick one.
I have one last question for you guys, and I want to know, how do
It's got to
you
be a
see,
short answer because we need to do some stuff before we
how's
close.
this all going to play out here in the United States?
Save that.
Yeah, that's a short question.
We're not answering that one right now.
Yeah.
We'll have you guys. No, we don't have time for that. We'll have you guys.
Yeah, we do.
30 seconds, WALID. How's it
30
going to play out?
seconds. How's it play out?
Well, it's gonna play out. I'll tell you how it's gonna play out. It's gonna play out by the Muslim world being very conniving, using the country of Turkey because it's considered a moderate state.
Thank you.
And we will sell our ability to basically police the Middle East and give it to Turkey. This is what's happening. So by saying that Islamic democracy of Turkey, or the Islamic model of the Turkish government, is the norm and is what is aspired by Tunisia and Egypt, everybody's going to get excited. So we're going to have some sort of a false peace initiative that the Sunni sect will work very hard. Even Hamas will recognize Israel. You mark my words. Hamas will recognize Israel, and eventually the Shia will collide with the Sunnis, and Iran is posting its missiles on Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is going to end up getting destroyed by the Shia in Iran.
And then oil will be only $20 a gallon, folks. Hey, WALID and Theodore, we're going to have you back for sure. Thank you very, very much. Let's give those guys a hand. Been a fabulous two-part series. We'll see you guys.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
And we got about a minute left, so if you can say goodbye to them or put them on mute or whatever.
It was good to meet you both. Thank you.
Good to meet you too, TJ.
And what he just said about Turkey, guess where
About
they're
Turkey and about Iran and Saudi Arabia and
guess where they're building a little mosque.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
What are you speaking of?
Turkey is building a mosque in Virginia.
Yeah.
$100 million mosque. They said it's going to be the most beautiful building in the West, and it's going to stand for the grandeur and luxurious nature and fabulous essence of Islam. And,
like all the people that eat sand and live on $2 a year?
And the people in Virginia are going, what? Yeah, the news broke yesterday.
Why don't they just put it on top of the Pentagon?
$100 million mosque.
I think they already did that.
Obama's in love with Erdogan. I mean, he thinks...
it's his best friend in the political world.
Yeah. All right, guys, great two-part series. We got a couple of seconds left. WALID and his son, good stuff.
Yeah, that's
terrible. You enjoy that?
Yeah, absolutely. I want them back. I want to talk about Huma.
We got a whole bunch of stuff. We should have him on regularly.
Yeah.
I hate all your guests.
I know. But that's it for now, folks. We have to say goodbye on this 30th of May, Thursday. Tom Trento, CJ, everybody else. We're signing off. We'll see you tomorrow, Friday. From France. We got somebody Skyping in from France. Tell us what's going on in that wild and wacky country.